Queridos amigos de la OSPA, es un placer para nosotros tener hoy aquí al maestro David Lockington. Maestro, thank you very much for joining us.
It's great to be here.
Pues nada, hoy como yo no manejo muy bien el inglés, ya lo habéis podido comprobar, me va a ayudar el maestro cámara, que es Pedro. Entonces yo me voy a poner con la cámara y Pedro le va a hacer unas preguntas al maestro. Gracias, maestro. Pedro, todo tuyo.
Tampoco me manejo yo muy bien con el inglés.
Sí, te manejas. Bueno, queríamos preguntarle al maestro, bueno, que hace tiempo que estuvo aquí con nosotros y que fue un gran éxito, entonces estábamos deseando tenerlo otra vez.
Oh, it's been a few times you've been here. We were very happy. Last time it was a great éxito, a success. How do you feel about coming back here with us?
Well, I have very good memories of the last concert we did with Shostakovich 15. I thought the orchestra got better and better and played with passion, and the music making was really enjoyable.
Traduzco.
Sí, traduce.
Que lo pasó muy bien la última vez con la orquesta tocando la 15ª Sinfonía de Shostakovich y haciendo cada día progresos y mejorando cada día.
Entonces, que nos cuente un poco el programa que traemos esta semana.
Yeah, could you tell us about the program this week? It's a bit unusual, this American stuff.
It's unusual here.
Unusual here,
of
yeah.
course. These mostly two composers, are Bernstein and Copland. They were great friends. Bernstein performed all of Copland's music and was a real advocate for him. And Copland, of course, was the grandfather of contemporary modern American music. He came to Europe to study with Nadia Boulanger, and then went back in the 1920s to bring the vernacular, the street music of the United States, New York, to the people. And so he became a populist kind of composer. Eventually, he had an avant-garde period early on, but he was a really important galvanizer for contemporary music. But his most popular music was written during the Second World War, with Rodeo and Billy the Kid, Appalachian Spring. And then this symphony that we're going to do, the Third Symphony, was begun just towards the end of the Second World War. But he didn't start it as a war symphony. But by the end of the Second World War, in 1945, Koussevitzky, who was a really great a teacher and a proponent of Copland's music, he encouraged Copland to finish as a celebratory symphony
For the victory.
For the victory, exactly. So the Fate of the Common Man was written in 1942. It was before the symphony began. And the fanfare was written along with many other composers to build the spirit, the sort of wartime spirit, patriotic feeling. And it's the only one of the overtures that was written for the Cincinnati Symphony in 1942 that survived. And Copland wove it into this symphony very skillfully, so that it appears at the beginning of the last movement, but we hear sort of pre-echoes of it through the symphony. And then after it appears, it's worked out in sort of variations in the last movement. It brings that really sort of exultant feeling to the symphony. And then the Bernstein on the Town was written at the same time as the beginning of the symphony. Again, during the second. Leonard Bernstein, as a young man, made a very important debut with the New York Philharmonic in 1943, and it immediately launched his fabulous career. And at the same time, he was writing a ballet called Fancy Free.
Broadway, yeah.
For Broadway. And that ballet became amplified, expanded into this show on the town, which is about these sailors, these three sailors that are on leave for 24 hours.
It was before in Broadway and then the movie. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. The movie came later. So these three excerpts from On the Town, you know, they contain all the sort of the swagger and the braggadocio of these sailors who are basically looking. They're trying to find a good time.
Yeah.
They go to the bars and there's a big dance scene in the last movement. The second movement is sort of a seduction scene in Central Park, and then the first movement just sets the kind of the tone of exuberant leave-taking, coming off the ship.
Yeah.
So,
Frank Sinatra.
yeah, that's right. It's got the spirit of the times.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the program is 3 songs of Aaron Copland with my friend Jubilant Sykes. These are folk songs. These are the material that Copland used to build his style. I mean, in many ways, like Dvorak, who came to the United States to teach American composers when Carnegie Hall was open, beginning of the 1890s. Dvorak advocated a sort of a nationalistic approach by taking folk material and building it into symphonic forms. Well, Copland ended up doing this in many ways with American music. With these folk songs, they get woven into all sorts of things. They get woven into Billy the Kid, of course. But Copland goes beyond that too. He's interested in Mexican music.
I was trying to find which was the American music.
I think he's saying it's all American music, because there's so many different culture in America. But he loved Mexico. He was a great friend of Carlos Chavez, and there are musical links between the two composers. So that we have El Salomé, which is a wonderful, exuberant, American Mexican piece. But in this case, anyway, these are just settings of these simple folk songs.
Well, that's the American spirit, the mixture of cultures from different countries, and
that's right.
Copland tried to show that on the music. You can follow the links.
You can hear those, can't you? You hear that in the symphony as well, different things. But then, as a complement to these folk songs, we have these 2 spirituals that Jubilant is also going to sing. And of course, the music of African American people has been a great inspiration to music, particularly popular music in general. But I would say also serious classical music in the kind of syncopation and the kind of soulfulness that it brings to American music.
Maybe
jazz and blues, particularly, and we hear these, of course, in the spirituals. These are modern versions of the spirituals with more popular harmonies and orchestration. They're really heartfelt and really powerful emotionally. I mean, the point about this music is that it speaks to everybody. I mean, we all have suffered in some way, and so if the music contains suffering, it sparks that sympathetic vibration in all of us.
It's funny how this music in our country is very far away from American culture. It's supposed to, but the music, it works very well with the audience. We have last week, or no, 2 weeks ago, some music from the north and from England, which is very close, and not everybody likes or can feel so close to it. I think with this music, most of the people understand it quite well. Maybe because of the movies, maybe, I don't know.
I think it's very interesting. There's a strain of music in Spain that is passionate and sad, very sad. I mean, I think about flamenco music. It's got all the
very emotional.
Very emotional. But even the bells here, the bells in Oviedo, it's like the Dorian mode.
Out of
transposed and slightly out of tune. It's distinctively Spanish, and it carries a soulfulness and a sort of a heartfelt pain, I think. So that's everybody's experience. The English music, I don't know what English music you play, but it's a lot of English music is sort of there's a grandiosity about it. There's sort of an imperialist kind of quality to it. Or there's a very smooth sort of pastoral feel. But it's a different experience of
very different
in the world, very different. And of course here, Spanish culture is so influenced by Moorish culture and Persian culture and Ladino experience, Jewish culture here too. So it's a mixture of so many things. It's beautiful.
Pedro, nada más, dile que por favor que tengamos un buen concierto, que estamos disfrutando mucho y que sea un éxito. Y que muchas gracias por estar aquí y que hasta dentro de pronto, dentro de poco.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure all this week. We hope to have succeed. I'm sure we'll be succeeding the 2 concerts.
Yes.
And hope to see you back soon.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Gracias, maestro.